Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. We are right in the middle of our pancreatic cancer fundraiser, and we have our next guest joining us. We have June Holland. How's it going today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I'm really good. I'm glad to be part of this as well for pancreatic cancer. It's really a great cause.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad we've got this rescheduled because I knew you weren't feeling well last week, and apparently this week whatever bugs got me. So I'm just kind of like, all right, we're gonna fight through this one and just keep
Yeah,
it going because I'd hate to have to reschedule or a second time and it'd just be like that's when it gets a slippery slope because it's like, oh, will we ever get it done? But we got it here, so.
Here.
So how's everything going over in the UK? How's your music been going?
Yeah, really well. Just saying it's getting a bit colder over here now. We might get snow next week, which is a bit crazy. But we are getting towards Christmas now. But yeah, and things I suppose are winding down a little bit towards Christmas.
Yeah.
But I've been really, really busy this year. It's been like my first proper year doing my music full time. So
Nice.
lots of gigs, lots of music released. It's been really good.
Nice. That's cool. I love that. I love to hear that. Does the music kind of always start to die down right around now, right as we like hit the final stretch into Christmas, or is it just kind of depend on where you're at?
It's more of a choice thing. I think there's definitely lots of gigs still going on.
Yeah.
I have done a lot now, and I feel like in terms of releasing music, I was just mentioned to you before the call that I might be looking at doing something a bit bigger for my next
Yeah.
release. So it's going to take a little bit more time. So that's why it might be a little bit quieter from me over the next couple of months, but there'll be something coming that's exciting. So hopefully
Nice.
everyone can look forward to that.
Right. That's really cool. I love it. It's kind of funny because as you were kind of bringing this up, it's like that I remember like back in the day, it was like years in between projects,
Yeah.
and now it's like months, and it's like that timetable is sped up so much.
Yeah. It's like full on now. It's like the expectation is, a song every month or every couple of
Yeah.
months. I guess it's hard to keep up with, but it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you busy, and
Right.
means you can get a lot more material out there in the course of a year. So,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, looking at your music, how long have you said this was your first full year kind of pursuing it full time?
yeah, so I've always had different 9 to 5s growing up, and then music was sort of like my passion. But I mean, my parents were always like, you need to have a job and then you can do your music on the side. But I always wanted to make it my full-time thing. And it always felt to me like it was the only thing I was really, truly good at. And at the end of last year, after like a load of stuff, I was struggling a bit with my mental health and things. And it just made me realize like, how short life is and that we need to make the most of it and do what makes us happy. So I finally took the leap and I quit my 9 to 5 to pursue my music full time. So this has been the first like year of doing it full time. So it's been exciting and scary, but I'm glad I did it.
Right. And so, have you been pursuing more like live gigs? I'm guessing.
Yeah. I've supported a couple of exciting people this year. So I got the opportunity in May to support Eddie Reader, who she's an amazing solo artist in her own right, a Scottish singer-songwriter, and she also was the lead singer of Fairground Attraction. So
Oh,
the song "It's Got to Be
yeah.
Perfect." So that was so yeah, she is a lovely person. I managed to get to support her, which was incredible because I used to sing that song when I was like younger and doing like cover gigs and stuff. So it
Yeah.
was a full circle moment for me. And then in the October just gone, I managed to support Bernard Butler,
Okay.
um, who's a proper indie legend. Yeah, so I've had like some great opportunities, and then I've just tried to get out as much as I can. Lots of like open mics in between gigs as well, just to like make new friends in the music scene, and it's been really good.
Nice. That's really cool. So you've kind of jumped in with both feet just to really try and make this thing work, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something, well, we all know anyone who's in the music industry, it's not an easy place to be. So you've got to really like work at it. So I've tried to do as much as I can this year, and hopefully into the next year, I'll be doing even more. Hopefully now I've started to build a bit of like a network and stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So kind of looking back, how did music kind of come in how did you find music? Was it through your parents, through your friends? How did you kind of get introduced to music?
Yeah, well, my parents always played a lot of music in the house growing up. I remember when I was really young, I was really scared of the dark, and I like hated going to bed and having the light off. And my dad made me this. He used to make like mixtapes on a tape player, and I had this little tape player. But the good thing about that was it wouldn't play all night because once the tape's finished, it would just cut off.
Yeah,
Wasn't going to cost him loads in electricity running all night long. It would finish when the tape was over. So he would put the tape on for me, and then it would help me like get to sleep. And it made sort of it's like the power of music. It can really like take you somewhere else. And for me, it like helped me to not feel so scared.
yeah,
And so then music really became like a big part of my life from then. And then as I got older, I just really got into, I enjoyed singing. I think the first time I really did anything in front of other people was like year five. So I would have been like 8 or something, and they had like a little talent competition, and then they were like, "You can do whatever you want, jokes or like comedy or dancing or whatever." And I was like,
yeah,
"I want to sing Crystal Gale, Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue?" And I think the teachers were all like, "Where's that come from?" Because I think the popular thing at the time was like the Spice Girls or Sugar Babes or something. And
yeah.
I came out with Crystal Gale, but that was like one of the songs off those tapes. So yeah, and I just really enjoyed singing in front of people. So it all sort of spiraled from there, really.
Nice. So you just kind of mentioned it, but what kind of music were on those tapes?
Well, yeah, it was actually a real mix. So my dad was a big Northern Soul fan as well. So there was a lot of like soul music. I love Stevie Wonder because there was a lot of Stevie Wonder on there. But then also like he just put like ELO on there or like just like so much different stuff. But he's got
Nice.
quite an eclectic taste. But that's why I've now got an eclectic taste because I just love pretty much all music, really.
Nice. That's really cool. I have not heard the name ELO in a very long time. I'm glad you brought that one up. Now it's going to go onto my Spotify playlist. It's like, okay, I'm going to go through a little ELO phase.
Yeah, do
Uh,
it. That's so good.
nice. And so obviously that was when you're younger. And was it that talent show that you'd mentioned in year five that really kind of sparked the pursuit of music, or was that just still something you were kind of doing for fun?
But I think I was like, oh, I like singing in front of people. Like I liked the feeling it
Yeah.
gave me. And then when I went up to high school, I started getting involved in like the choir and doing like the performance in assemblies and things like that. And then as I got a bit older, I was like, I remember getting a CD of me singing and then taking it round to the pubs in my local area. I think I was like 16 and I was like, can I please come sing in your pub? And like would take the little CD with me. So it's sort of like, yeah, it just continued from there. And I ended up taking music at college, although theory is not my forte. Like I always love to sing, and like I can hear music when I'm like putting together my tracks. I can hear what I want, and then I have to just work it out. But I'm by no means some like theory master. So the college course kind of went over my head a little bit, but
Right.
I knew I wanted to take music because it was something that I loved. But I have had to figure a lot of stuff out myself. Like since then, I think there's like probably two different kind of people. There's people that are like really hot on their theory, and then there's people that just sort of do something random and it happens to work. And then
Yeah.
like I actually collaborated with a good friend of mine, and he's very, very good at theory. But we made a good team because he was like, "How? Why did you even come up with that line? Like that technically shouldn't work, and I would have never thought to do it, but it really does." And then vice versa, like I was like, I would have never thought to do those chords because he knows all the ways in which chords resolve into each other and stuff. So it actually works quite well when you've got two of each side of the coin.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where it's like you have the one person where it's like they're technically sound, where they know the base, we'll call it the basics, but then you have like a free thinker like yourself that's just kind of like challenging the norms by choice or by not. You're just kind of doing what feels good, and it's really cool when it just kind of ends up working out. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Um, so you said you've released a lot of music this year. what was kind of the thought process? Were you trying to hit like a song a month this year, or like coming into this year? What was the thought process?
Well, I just sort of thought when I decided that I was going to quit my job and go full-time music, I've got all these songs that I've written throughout my life. Like I wrote some of the songs when I was like 18 and I was like, I've never got them out there and no one's ever heard them. So like one of my priorities is to like get them recorded. And because I think when I wrote them, I didn't even know it was possible for me, little old me to get my songs on Spotify. But obviously nowadays it's a lot more easy for like anybody if you get the a distributor, whatever, you can get your music
Yeah,
out, which is great. So that was like my number one priority is like get my music out there and get it heard. And then also then that helps when I go to gigs and stuff because I can sing my original material, which hopefully some people have heard at that point. But yeah, so I've done 9 singles. One of them was a cover that I did for my dad's birthday, but so 8 of my own original songs, and I've got a lot more to record as well. But I think as well, like I don't know if you feel the same, but the singles approach seems to be at this moment in time is like people like don't release an album, release singles because
yeah,
you don't have enough time to, well, especially when you're an independent artist, you're doing everything yourself, you're doing the promotion yourself. I wouldn't have enough time to promote a whole album, whereas I can promote one song at a time and then just keep them coming. So that's sort of what I've been doing so far.
yeah, absolutely. It's kind of an interesting thought, like just going into how to release, what to release, when to release, all that stuff, because right now the general feel is singles. Like, I mean, it feels like this is a new concept, but in reality, this isn't a new concept. Like the industry's always been singles driven. It's just right now they're focused more on the results of your singles as maybe they were in the 90s or 2000s. But at the end of the day, I think it just kind of depends on what type of musician you are. Like if you're a musician that's on the road all the time, touring, and in the UK, it's probably a little bit harder because I know what is it, like 8 hours from the north to the south or something.
Yeah, something like
So
that.
at some point, you're going to end up like if you're playing consistently and willing to make that trip, at some point you're going to start playing the same places once a month. And so maybe a full album isn't like the best way to go. But like here in the States, if you're like on the road for 6 months and you're going from LA to New York to Chicago and you're like really really traveling, a CD or having that physical copy may not be the worst way to go, you know?
Yeah. Well, that is one thing that I definitely want to look at. And as I said, I might be doing a slightly bigger project
Yeah.
next because when I've been doing gigs, actually, there is people that still want CDs. I know, like, the younger generation might be like, oh, no one listens to CDs. Why would you bother? But when I've been
Yeah.
doing gigs, a lot of people have come to me and been like, have you got a CD? And because I've only released singles, I haven't got a
Yeah.
physical CD. I suppose I could collate them, but so far I haven't done that. So it's almost like it feels like a missed opportunity to connect more with
Yeah.
that audience and hand them something physical. So it's definitely something that I want to look at because I think when you are gigging, there is a market for it still. Like people do still want your physical.
Yeah.
It's like a memento from that gig as well, something special they can take home and remember. Oh, that time when we saw that young girl or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. And what I think even like right now to kind of get the younger audience in is where that vinyl comes into play, which seems very backwards thinking, but like the younger generation seems to crave the nostalgia of
I know.
vinyl, which they probably don't even really know what vinyl is. But like our generation, it's like, I don't know. I think if you're gonna do a physical copy, yes, CDs are the easy place to go and definitely worth it because it's not a high cost of entry. But
Mhm.
vinyl, like if you have the following and are willing to make that risk, I think vinyl is kind of the play to make. So,
Yeah, and it's beautiful. You can get so many different colors, and yeah,
yep,
I'd love to get some vinyl one day. That's definitely on my list of things to do.
right,
But
right, right. Oh, but so you've had a busy year, a lot of releases. Would you release 8 songs so far this year?
yeah, 8 originals and one cover. So
Nice. So it's probably welcomed time to like pull back a little bit as we approach the end of the year. And obviously, as you mentioned, you might be working on a little bit of a bigger project, which has got to be fun and exciting all together. Um, but before we move on, I do want to thank you so much for joining us for our pancreatic cancer fundraiser. It's a an event. It is a thing near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate the fact that you wanted to jump in and participate. So
Oh, of course. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me. I'd love to be, a part of something like this. It's really good what you're doing, and it's a great cause. So thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely. Yeah, we this is our fourth year, and we're doing it for my mom. She passed away 4 years ago, so from
Oh,
pancreatic cancer. So yeah, we're doing it for her.
you'll be
Uh,
very proud of you.
yeah, yeah. So kind of looking forward, are you obviously you'd mentioned that you're kind of pulling back from releases for right now. Are you how often are you playing shows for the rest of the year, or are things just like all together kind of slowing down so you can worry about the creative?
Yeah, well, I to do more than one song without giving too much away,
Yeah,
I it's going to take me a while because I do all the production, like recording production myself, and I don't have a background in production, so to do all the tracks I've done so far, I've basically been relying on YouTube tutorials and different things like that, and research on the internet. So it takes me probably a bit longer than like your
yeah,
regular mixing mastering engineer. But I really want to just put some time into making sure the songs that I want to put forward to this project are, just right for it. And yeah, I want to put a lot of time and care into the production and recording. So yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of a step back, but I'm not going away for very long.
fair, fair, fair. And that's including like live shows and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm still going to be getting out and performing at stuff locally,
Yeah,
like in and around like Manchester, and because I actually live in a small town called Northwich.
okay,
So anyone from the UK who might be watching, like, probably doesn't even know where that is anyway. But I always say Manchester because everyone knows where Manchester is. And I spend a lot of time in the city because it's my like closest, biggest city. So
yeah,
there's a great music scene there. So yeah, just in and around here. I mean, it's a lovely time of year to be performing anyway because everyone's got like everyone's in a good mood because the Christmas season always brings the
yeah.
best out in people. So yeah, I'm gonna still be getting out there.
Nice. That's really cool. It's always it I find it kind of funny that you fall into the same category as I did growing up, where it's like if you say where you grew up, nobody really knows where it's at. So you just kind of say the next big city.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you meet somebody from Manchester, or in my case, from Chicago, and you say, oh, yeah, I'm from Chicago. It's like, oh, yeah, whereabouts? And then you say where you're actually from. They're like, that's not Chicago. Come on now. And I'm like, I know. I'm just so used to talking to people that have no idea where I live. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so funny. Oh, so kind of outside of music, what have you been getting into recently? What do you like to do in your spare time?
I'll be completely honest, I don't have a lot of spare time. Since I've started doing this, I think I probably work more hours now than I did in my 9 to 5. Like, I'm constantly doing stuff to do with my music.
Yeah.
But I do like I love art and basically a lot of creative things.
Yeah.
So like for all my artwork for my singles and stuff, I always do it myself and design it and stuff. But yeah, I haven't really had a load of spare time. I mean, recently I've been just applying for loads of festivals for next year in
Yeah.
hope that I can get on loads of festivals, hopefully in the summertime. So yeah, I mean, I like to bake actually. That is something that I enjoy doing.
Nice.
I'm due to make a pumpkin pie soon, which is I've made a lot of apple pies, but I've not made a pumpkin pie yet. I know that's a bit more American, a pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can do it justice. But I've got a nice pumpkin sitting there that I bought specifically for a pumpkin pie. So I'll be doing that.
Nice. Nice. That's really cool. I I'm not a big fan of pumpkin pie, but that's just my personal taste. But I know a lot of people that love it. So
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I must have tried some at some point, but I've never made one. Like, I can't distinctly remember it. So we don't know if I'm a pumpkin pie person, but I'm going to make one anyway.
and give it a shot. That works.
I'll let you
That's
know
cool.
how I get on.
Right, right, right. And so is that kind of what you like to make is pies as far as baking goes, or is that just kind of what you've been on recently?
I do love pies because I love pastry and anything like stodgy, but I do like to bake cakes and things as well. So just anything to do. I think I'm more of a baker. I feel like you're good at cooking or you like cooking or you
Yeah.
really love baking, and I'm definitely more of a baking person.
Okay.
I'm a bit chaotic when I cook, so um, it will feel like the kitchen's about to set on fire and like everything's going at once, and I just get a bit overwhelmed. Whereas with baking, you just slowly mixing away. You put it in the oven and it's done at a
Yeah.
certain time. It's a lot more relaxed. So
Yeah. For sure. I think that's where I'm more of a cooking person because it like baking, everything has to be exact because it's like chemistry in a lot of way where it's like you put too much baking soda in or too much this in, it's not going to turn out right. Whereas cooking, it's like you can always kind of correct it. And it's like it'll turn out okay. So yeah.
yeah.
So it I don't know. I just enjoy cooking a little bit more. And I've tried baking and I'm okay at it. Like I know how to bake, but it's just man, it's time consuming. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I have just baked a Christmas cake actually because I have to start feeding it with brandy ready for Christmas all these
yeah.
months ahead, so it'll be nice and boozy on Christmas Day. And my Christmas cake, I've been told, is quite good. So I've got
Nice.
like a high bar set. So every Christmas, everyone's expecting a good cake. So it's a lot of pressure.
You got to step it up every year and just kind of make it that much a little bit better.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Um, so you had mentioned that you design all your own artwork, your cover art, and all that stuff. Was that something that you studied in school before, like while you were learning music? Was like graphic design and stuff like that, or is that just something that you've kind of naturally gravitated towards?
I did art at school, so I really enjoyed art and just like physical, like, painting and drawing. And then I've just sort of figured out how to do it. I've got an iPad, so I've managed to figure
Yeah,
out from watching tutorials and how to do it, like so that it can be, yeah, almost like graphic design. I'm probably not anywhere near a graphic designer, but I get an idea in my head. So like someone was actually asking me about this the other day. How did you get your perfectly wonderful artwork to be animated? So there's like a little, the little canvas that sits behind Spotify and it moves
yeah,
around.
yeah,
It's basically like a drawing, and it's got like different colors and the faces on the characters like move. And I basically just drew it and then replicated it loads of times and changed the faces and colored in different parts, and then I made it a video so it played like one sequence after the other, almost like a flip book style thing.
yeah.
And it managed to work out how I had it in my head, but a lot of the time it's just trial and error and trying to figure out how to do these things.
Nice, nice. That's and you have a lot more. Um, oh, what's the word I want? Like just the ability to figure out how to learn something is a skill that a lot of people don't have, which is very interesting. It's
No.
like because most people wouldn't have thought to go to YouTube because like that's an art skill in and of itself is go like you have an idea in your head and knowing okay if I go to YouTube how do I search this, how do I describe it, how do I find what I want, and being able to kind of figure it out is like that's a really cool skill set to have.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just initiative. Like if you really want, like I'm quite driven, so if I
yeah,
want to do something, I won't stop until I figured out how to do it. But I might have to do a lot of searches to get there.
oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm quite determined when I've got an idea in my head. So yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. I love it. So kind of looking forward, obviously you've got you're kind of in the creative elements of things of like writing, recording, all that fun stuff. Where are you at like writing right now? Are you like always writing or are you kind of going in seasons? How does that kind of work out for you?
So it's funny you mentioned seasons because my latest release is very seasonal based, but I'm currently like I'm always writing if an idea comes to me.
Yeah.
How I've been like all of my songs have been very spur of the moment. Like I've got an extreme emotion about this and I'm gonna sit down and just write a song and then pretty much it's like out on the page within like 15 to half an hour because
Yeah.
I'm usually like so overtaken by whatever I'm feeling that it just comes out on the page, rather than like sitting there thinking, I want to write a song. What shall I write about? It just
Yeah.
sort of, but so I'll never like stop myself from writing if I suddenly get like a spur of inspiration. But I wouldn't say like I'm actively searching to write songs constantly because I have such a backlog of songs that I'm still trying to get through. I'm sort of like prioritizing getting out the old songs that I've already written. And then as new ones come along, it sort of just goes on to the end of my list. So my list is like never ending because by the time I get near the end, there's a few more been added on to the end. So, but it's good. I don't want to ever stop that sort of creative flow.
Yeah.
I'll always let that come out and get a new song if I can.
For sure. If that list gets too long, you might have to just jump towards the end and then just occasionally throw in some of the older songs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm getting fair like because I got through 8 this year. I'm getting
Yeah.
like probably about yeah halfway to the latter end of that for the older songs, and then it'll be nice then once I've got them out and into the world because then I can just like yeah. I guess really focus on writing some more songs, maybe a bit more focus on like let's see what I can write now, because a lot of the I suppose my vision of how my music wants to sound and everything might have changed a bit since those older songs as well.
Yeah.
So I can like really focus on some like a newer sound. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that part.
Nice. And so, speaking of older songs, how old is Summer Autumn Phenomenon, which is your current single out now?
Yeah, so I think I wrote that probably about 6 years ago. So it's still quite old. But it's not one of the oldest. Like I think like Family and Happy Now, which are a
Yeah.
couple before, like they were like nearly 10 years ago. So yeah, it's like not super old, but I wrote it. I actually started preparing for this song to release it a couple of autumns ago.
Oh, really?
When the first time I wanted to do it, I started recording like ideas for a music video whilst it was in the autumn time because I was like, I've got to take the videos now whilst all the leaves have fallen and everything, with hope that I would get it out that year. And then one thing happened after another. It's like I wasn't ready to release yet. And then the following year, I was releasing something else at the right time. And there's a very small window in which I can release that song because it's all about falling in love in the autumn time. So I wanted to give it its moment in the autumn for people to enjoy it. So then this year, I finally got round to like, so the video of me that's for the music video is actually filmed 2 years prior to me actually releasing the song. So I looked a bit different. I had like different hair in the video. So I was like, disclaimer, this was like 2 years ago.
Yeah. And that's all right though. Like most people probably wouldn't even put two and two together. So,
Yeah.
so when you actually finally decided to sit down, record, release Summer Autumn Phenomenon, did you find out, or did you have to kind of go back and update it so it feels a little bit more representative of who you are now, or did you try and keep it more authentic to how you were feeling when you wrote the song?
I kept it pretty much the same, I think. And actually the way I recorded it is my only like fully acoustic track that
Yeah.
I've released. A lot of my others I've added a lot of other stuff in the production. So this one is literally how I wrote it, like just me and my guitar. But I bracketed acoustic on the release just in case at some point I want to release a bit more production because when I was putting it together, I didn't have time to do all this, but I was thinking, oh, I can hear like strings in here and
Yeah.
like so maybe at some point I'll revisit it and release a different version. But yeah, I
I
just
love it. I love it. It sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, and like an acoustic version is like it just feels comfortable as an acoustic
yeah,
song. So it like
thank
that
you.
would be my concern if you were to like come in and start adding strings and draw, just like whatever it is, it might make it a little busy. Whereas like right now, it just feels very comfortable. So
Yeah. And I think this time of year, it's nice to listen to just like cozy acoustic tracks. I mean, when
yeah,
I listen to my playlist of like acoustic music, sorry, autumn music, it tends to be a lot of acoustic stuff in there. So it's quite cozy feeling.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So kind of obviously summer autumn phenomenon is your current signal. It's out now up on Spotify. Anybody listening, we've got the Spotify link in the description below, all that fun stuff. What's kind of the thought process heading into 2025? What are some of the goals you want to try and hit next year? Like, yeah,
Yeah, well, so as I mentioned, my slightly bigger project, I mean, I may as well say it's not going to be an album, as I mentioned already,
yeah,
but I'm going to look at hopefully doing my first EP. So it's going to be my first a bit bigger body of work. And I want to hopefully release that early next year if I can. This isn't like an official announcement. There'll be more to come on it. We'll see how I get on.
yeah,
But I would hope to do it maybe early to mid next year, and then hopefully if I can get some festival slots I'll be able to then come and share it with the world. But yeah, that's going to be like my, I think the next big step for me after like releasing single after single
yeah,
is be doing something that I can get on, like we said, on a physical copy of music as well.
yeah,
Hopefully start sharing it with more people. And then yeah, festivals. I'm keen. I love festivals. I've always loved going to festivals as like an audience member.
yeah.
I like to be on the stage at festivals and like share my music with people will be special. So fingers crossed I get some festivals next year.
Okay, I think you will. It's the UK scene, just like from an outsider kind of looking in. I mean, I guess I'm a little bit more than I'm an educated outsider. Like I kind of uh, the scene there is starving for more local music, especially at the festival level. It's like you're starting to see all these British country festivals or these British music festivals, and it's like really rewarding country or like British original musicians. And so I think it'll happen for you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited at what next year could hold, and yeah, thank you. I hope so too. I think I can see that too. Like it definitely needs to start supporting like more local artists, and I'm hopefully going to be a part of it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I don't want to keep you here too much longer. If anybody wants to check out your music, upcoming shows, social media, all that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so you can head to my link tree, which is at June Holland Music, and pretty much on all social media, I'm at June Holland Music, bar Twitter, which, well, X, which I'm June Holland underscore, because I didn't have enough characters to do June Holland Music, sadly, on Twitter. So, but everything June Holland Music is the way to go.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. But once again, I really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you joining us here on our pancreatic cancer fundraiser. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll be back here in a little bit with our next guest.